Mathur, thank you very much for being with us on the telecast. Appreciate your comments at this point of time emerging after this escalation has broke out. And let's also understand more developments that are coming from the Airports Authority, which has issued a statement. The Israel Airports Authority has stated that due to the developments in the situation, the airspace on the state of Israel is closed to entry and to exit. The statement further added that the public should check with the airlines. However, the land crossings to Sinai and Jordan are operating as usual. All right, the airspace closure has been announced from Israel after the big statement. As what we are learning also next is that there is at this point of time the following attacks on the Iranian nuclear facilities. Commercial traffic is also in the region is operating, and as it has since new airspace restrictions were put into place last week. All right, viewers, you can see even the picture on your screen of the closure of the airspace that Israel has now reported following the US attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities. All right, joining me live on the telecast is my guest at this point of time. Manan Dwivedi continues to be with us on the telecast. Land crossing to Sinai and Jordan are kept to be closed, and Mr. Dwivedi, even this is going to blow up in the hours to come, as the developments are still coming up now at this point of time. And the big takeaway of this is also how Iran now positions itself. The airspace closure has also been announced by Israel. As the US steps up the strikes, what remains to be the next step forward in retaliation is a big concerning issue. Mr. Dwivedi.
I would just like to contend here, we have been following the events and the developments as they have been surfacing before us. So if we look into the historical thesis too, what we are going to find is that on the 4th of November 1979, the Iran-Contra affair, or we cannot relegate history to the back burner completely when we try to look into the present and the future or the contemporary context. So it was on the 4th of November 1979 that 66 American citizens, primarily diplomats, they were kidnapped and they were held hostage in the Iranian embassy in 1979. And even after the Algiers Accord, around 52 of them were sent. The rest of them were freed by the Iranian Students Association, which was led by Raullah Khomeini. So, it was considered to be a big blot or a big defeat kind of a thing for the American foreign policy and for the White House, which cost the Americans a kind of they lost their face. And President Jimmy Carter also lost his presidential elections primarily because of the debacle which had happened in Iran. Now, coming back to the contemporary context, I would just like to contend that escalation might be in the offing. But what I personally feel as a student of international relations, that Iran, despite of the fact that India shares very cozy and comfortable and a convenient relationship with Iran, and we have also taken in, as is common knowledge, we all know about it, that there happens to be this issue of the Chabahar port, where India has invested hugely and immensely, and any kind of what you call an obstruction might cast a kind of a lethal dragnet on the way India has invested heavily in Iran. But we have to look beyond this particular facet. We have to be India-centric, granted. But this kind of a denouement, I would like to use a word here, denouement, wherein it is a climax, or it is a kind of a fin de siècle, that President Trump and presidents before him, they had been talking about with rhetorical aplomb about the fact that they are going to bomb Iran out of existence. And Trump himself had suffered, I personally feel as a rational scholar of international relations, he has suffered a loss of face like other adversaries of Iran, in the sense that they talk a lot, they talk loud, they talk big, but they are not able to deliver by turning Iran into smithereens. I don't have anything against Iran, but the idea happens to be that this was very much in the offing, But I once again would hark back to the sort of whimsical, idiosyncratic, and a very, what you call, uncertain temperament and decision-making style of President Donald Trump. I think if I'm not incorrect, only yesterday or a couple of days back, President Trump went on the air and he's declared that this is just a time pass. We will let the World War III pass. We are not going to have we are not going to let America participate in World War III if it comes up, and we are going to be hanky-dory about it. And the next day, or maybe the day after, Trump and the American establishment has bombed the 3 nuclear installations of Iran. So this comes as quite a surprise, because since the last 6 months, or since the Hamas, Houthi, and the Hezbollah conflagration with Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel, Americans, even since the Biden's time, they have been kind of just creating noise about the bravado of Benjamin Netanyahu, the kind of flourish, military flourish, and what do you call it, the bamboozling military might of Israel, and they have to use a smaller word. They have chided regularly, including President Donald Trump. They have chided Benjamin Netanyahu, and it definitely comes as a change in strategy, a change in foreign policy and diplomacy for United States of America, because it might invite. But I personally feel that countries like China, Russia, and Turkey are going to remain hanky-dorily quiet. They are going to pass statements, because once the Americans are into the fray, I don't think these countries can dare interfere in an American intervention. And Russia, which seems to be one of the most legible candidates, is already embroiled in a war where the Ukrainians give them a surprise or two every now and then. So I personally feel that a regional conflagration might not be in the order. And this is going to be an America brokered kind of a diplomatic ceasefire. Now, when that can happen, I am not a soothsayer, but still, I think Israel and Iran are going to fight it out much more stronger, in a much more headier and a bloodier manner. And apart from the sky wars, the spectacular sport of missiles colliding with each other and one of them disappearing into smithereens, it might turn out to be a naval kind of a conflagration also, because Houthis have also said that now they are going to target the American ships. But they are very weak. The Iranians and its adversaries, what we need to remember, are non-state actors. They are terrorists, they are separatists, they are insurgent actors, and nobody can take the blame of the fact that Iran is the biggest sponsor of terror. So I think America will take it from there and look into the Iranian response to its bombardment of Natanz, Ishfahan, and Fordo, if I get the names correct. That would be my take on it.
All right. Manant Vedi, thank you very much, and appreciate your in-detail analysis of how the situation is now going to look forward in the coming hours, as we are also tracking these satellite images, and of course with that the statements coming in.